Good evening. See, now I got to watch where I turn my head so nobody sees the ring light. It is so good to see everybody. This is Devin with Professional Home Educator for a Facebook group, Homeschool House Calls. And we're with Erin tonight. Erin is one of my all-time favorite people because she thinks out of the box so good. And she is doing this is like an upgrade to an old workshop she did on world geography. We're doing it with a twist. It is here. I've even got a there Christmas around the world. I've got a sign. Look, I'm like,
aren't we nice?
I'm like, look, I'm like together. But anyway, Erin is going to, look, you're going to be blown away and you're going to go watch everything she's ever done in the group because you're going to be blown away because she is so awesome about thinking outside the boxes. But anyway, welcome, Erin.
Hello. I'm trying to look. I brought y'all into my, I'm backwards. I forget that. I brought y'all into my living room with all my Christmas decorations just for this. So I'm feeling very festive for this. And I'm going to stop messing with my hair, I swear. Okay. So I have a lot of information that I'm going to throw at you. So just know that if you don't remember it all, I do have all of the links and I'm putting them together in a PDF file that Devin will share in the group for you so that you can link to everything that I'm talking about. If you have questions as you go, you can ask them. I can see them. So if you're like, what are you talking about? I can see them and answer the questions and feel free to tag me later. Right. So a little about me. I run South Alabama Homeschooling, which is a local support group. And I also run Erin's Gulf Coast Homeschool Adventures, which is a field trip group. And we go all kinds of neat places. One of the things that I do with that adventure group is I plan and give people learning things to go with every single adventure and every field trip that we go on. So that's kind of where all this comes from, me thinking outside the box and trying to think of new ways to do all this kind of stuff. So when it comes to Christmas around the world, this is actually something we've been doing since I started homeschooling. Even before I started homeschooling, actually, they like to say I was a closet homeschooler before Devin was one of them. She was the one who used to say it before I even started homeschooling. So I've been doing this for a long time. So the first thing I want to warn you before I even get started is this is not stuff that I did all in 1 year. So I'm going to give you all this. We've done this stuff and you're going to go, how in the world does she fit all of this into one Christmas? I do not. You're going to find that it's going to depend on where you are in your age groups, how old your kids are, where you're wanting to do, what your current interests are, maybe what you're learning that year. Are you doing world history or are you doing U.S. history? That's going to make a difference on kind of the things that you're doing. Currently, we're very focused on genealogy in my house. So we're doing a lot with our family history. So this year, our Christmas Around the World has a lot to do with connecting to our roots and where we came from. So that's kind of the path that we're going with that. When they were little, it was a lot of printables, because that's what they were, printables and arts and craftsy type things. As they got a little older, cooking became a thing because, man, they wanted to learn how to cook and they liked to bake the things. So I'm going to kind of go through all of this stuff, but don't get overwhelmed. Just take the pieces that you need for this year. And Christmas comes around every year, so you'll get to do them again. And what's great about this stuff is even if you stop homeschooling or you're taking a break from homeschooling, you can still do this kind of stuff because you can still kind of incorporate it during Christmas break or on the weekends or even after school kind of stuff. Most of it's kind of fun and the kids like it no matter when you do it. So the first thing I'm going to give you in the PDF is a link. It's an amazing link. It is all the countries. It lists, it's got to be 50 countries. And it's super simple to navigate. You click on which country you want to look at, and it just has all of the information on traditions and recipes and all kind of neat stuff. It's kind of a great overarching website of you just want to know. So you just want to know what they do in Germany or what they do in Poland or what they do in Russia. It's just a great overarching thing. I keep glancing over to the side because that's where I have all of my notes. So that's what, and of course my phone keeps going dark because it's on my phone. So that's going to be a neat one. Paired with that is how to say Merry Christmas in many different languages. So that's kind of just a fun, simple thing to do. Right. So it's something you can learn and they can learn whichever language they want to or as many as they want to. Wouldn't that be fun? And they can say Merry Christmas in all these different languages. So The thing about Christmas around the world is also going to be that everything's not going to definitely be from a Christian perspective. Some of it's going to be maybe a Jewish perspective, or, just different ways that are celebrated, Hanukkah and things like that. You'll see a lot of that kind of brought in to these things. So be watching for that. That's some interesting stuff that comes along as well. So the first thing, the easiest thing, the number one thing everybody goes to is printables. Printables are great. There are a lot of them. Teachers Pay Teachers. If you just plug Christmas Around the World into their search engine, they're going to have so many. I go to that and then I click on free and see how many free they have. But you can also break their stuff down by grade level. So they have so much neat stuff. One that we use that we really liked, I don't know, I wish I knew how to screen share a little bit better here, but I'll share pictures when at the end. But we did where it was writing prompts, and we had a world map on our wall, and he cut them out and he taped the writing prompts to the wall, and then he drew a line because it was a dry erase. You could dry erase over the thing. So he had a good visual representation of, okay, this is what they do in Italy. This is what they're cooking in Italy. This is what the writing prompt was in Italy. And then he had to draw from the country off the map to the writing prompt. So that was a really great one there. Involving your world maps that you have, especially if you can get ones that you can use dry erase markers on, are so great because it really brings it home to them. I've got to stop talking with my hands. Where these things are. But the printables are great because they're going to have every level. So if you have a preschooler, toddler, all the way up to high schooler, they're going to cover all your levels really easily. Pinterest, you can just go to Pinterest because a lot of people just have them on their blogs. So this leads right into unit studies. I'm going to give you a list of a bunch of different unit studies from Christmas Around the World. So the unit studies are great because they kind of bring a lot of what I'm going to talk about all into one place. So you don't have to go look for recipes over here and books over here and this over there. It's going to have everything kind of all in one place. That can get overwhelming. I know sometimes I open a unit study and I'm like, this is so cool, but oh my gosh, this is so much stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's great if you kind of want an all-in-one stop for Christmas Around the World stuff. There are some really neat ones that just have a ton of countries that you can go through and do. But it can be very, very overwhelming just to look at a unit study from the outside. But I'm going to give you several of those to look at. They're all free. All these resources are going to be free because that's my favorite thing is these when they're free resources. So that's always good here. Yeah, and they're all new. I checked them all, so all the new ones that I'm giving you right now are going to be up to date, and they're all there. The next thing I want to talk about is books. I have a link to 20 multicultural Christmas books for children and books celebrating Christmas around the world. These are great. You can put them on hold at your library. If the library doesn't have them, Amazon and all those places will carry them too. A lot of them you can find digitally or check on YouTube and see if somebody's reading the books. So books are great, obviously. All the homeschool moms do. They're like books.
Yeah, if you have, if your library has access to Hoopla or something like it, they may have it too.
Right, and then it's right there in your hands automatically. You don't even have to go anywhere. Yeah. So that's kind of nice too. But these will give you actual names of the books that you can use to kind of help you get started. Once you get started in the books, it's gonna snowball, and you're gonna find so many neat things. Mm-hmm. We had a really good time with a lot of the Russian Christmas books. Those are a lot of fun. Of course, the Nutcracker, we went and saw. We go see that every year. So, but there's a book for the Nutcracker. So if you're going to see the Nutcracker and that's part of your Christmas and see even part of your Christmas Around the World, get the book, because especially a lot of little kids, they don't fully get the storyline and what's going on because there's no words. So the books are great. So I'm going to give you some links to some books you can use. Again, don't try and do everything all at once. And maybe even, I'm going to get into something that's kind of going to tell you how to pick too. So we're going to keep going. So this is my kids' favorite. My kids' favorite is the food, incorporating the food from around the world and what they're doing in traditions for Christmas around the world. every country does a different food. I forget which country now, of course, my mind's going blank, but we did the Yule log. We did that one year. But World Market is great. If you have a World Market near you, we have 2 down here, one in Mobile and one in Daphne. I'm just going to show you some. So we've got these, which are really good. And then we've got these, which are really good. These are from, oh, now I'm going to forget it where everything's from. The United Kingdom, Scotland. These are from Scotland. All you have to do is look on the back, and they're going to tell you on all of these foods where they're from. And World Market's actually really good. If you just search Scotland, it comes up, and it shows you what you can buy. We've got France. We've got Italy. So, see, we love.
We heard about this today. I went to World Market today. I didn't buy them. I had.
Yes. So they're going to have a lot of things, and they're going to have a lot of things for you to use on shelf. So that's great. They're even going to have a lot of meal stuff that you can find. And then you don't have to put a whole lot of effort into it. If you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants, if you're just wanting to celebrate a country, but you're not really wanting to cook a 4-course meal on it, World Market is fantastic. A lot of your grocery stores are going to have aisles with the food on it too. So that's great too. And you can just sort of narrow it down by that. So I love World Market. I'm actually wish I had the picture again. But this is a Christmas gift idea too. We did that 2 years ago, and my children actually asked for it this year. So each of them I picked a country for. We had a Canada for my daughter, Japan for my other daughter, and Australia for my son. And I went to World Market, and I filled the boxes up, and I printed out copies of their money, and I printed out a thing with quick facts about the country, and included some drinks. They loved it. It was one of their favorite Christmas gifts. Of course, a bunch of food, but again, that's a great way to celebrate. Yeah, to get geography into your Christmas, and they loved it. And that way you get to choose specifically what country. Now, Universal Yums, which we have used as a subscription service, they have a Christmas box. It's coming up on the deadline to order that Christmas box. I think it's this weekend. I need to double check that, but I think it's this weekend. But they are going to send you a bunch of countries in one box. Last year they sent us, we did the $25 box. There's a $15 box, a $25, and a $35 box. We did the medium box. Like 15 different things in it, maybe about 15 different things. Then they're going to have chips, and they're going to have, oh my gosh, they had the best gingerbread. Oh, so good. But they are neat because they come with a little booklet that tells you about each country and why they chose that and why that's part of their Christmas tradition. You can order just that box, or you can get, a subscription to them year round. And then every month they send you a different country. Usually they just send you one country, but for Christmas they send you a box full of countries. Halloween, they do Halloween candies, which is fun too. But the other thing I'm going to include in the PDF is actually a link from Hip Homeschool Moms. They have a free Christmas Around the World cookbook. So they go through, and it's got a bunch of different recipes. My son is already picking out which recipes he wants to cook. So they have a bunch of different recipes in there. I was going to see if I could. So that's a neat one too. We've already looked at that one, a bunch of pages. I'm actually going to go print it out. And my son loves to try and cook. I'm all about him learning how to cook because he needs to be self-sufficient one day. And so definitely bringing the food in is a huge thing kids love. They love, love, love that. So the free cookbook will be in the PDF that I get Devin to link. So the cooking is great. But again, if it's something you just want to fly out the door and do with a quickness, hitting World Market, you just can't beat it. They are going to have just about every country you can think of. I mean, I can't think of one. I haven't found one yet where I've been like, they have nothing.
Yeah, we went through there today, and it was really cool to see everything.
And you can search their website. So you can search their website and kind of get an idea ahead of time. They don't have everything on the website. I know they don't have a lot of the candies and things on the website. So definitely do that. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is the one thing everybody's probably absolutely sick of this year. They're tired of it. but it's still really cool and I really like it. And that's the virtual Christmas around the world. So you can go to virtual Christmas events all around the world. Now, a lot of them aren't happening this year. A lot of the Christmas markets aren't happening this year, and everybody's very sad. But they have old tours that you can go on. So you can go, so you can go to those German Christmas markets, those Russian Christmas markets where they're selling things, and you can walk through it. I was walking through one of the German virtual tours yesterday. And it was so neat. You can kind of zoom in and see the food. Now, you might want to go buy the food at the World Market and then do the tours of the Christmas markets because you can see all the food that they sell at these Christmas markets, and they all look amazing. And there's some other Christmas. I'm going to link you to all of this too. I have all the links to these things too. I'm not just sending you to Pinterest or Google. I do have the links to this stuff I'm telling you about. I wouldn't do that to you. One of my cats is talking. Can you hear? We're convinced one day he's just going to start saying words. He's just going to one day start saying actual words, having a conversation
like that.
So I've got one for France. I've got one. You can experience some of Europe's best Christmas markets with these virtual tours. Virtually tour world famous Christmas markets and attractions. So there's some really neat virtual Christmas stuff you can get into. And I'll throw in the castles. If you're in my adventure group, you saw the 23 castles tour today. So I'm going to throw the link in for that. It's not exactly Christmas, but it's castles. So I'll throw that one in there too. What's neat about the virtual tours is you have control of it. So you can kind of go in and out of things. You can turn which way you want, turn, the other way. The kids can take control of the situation and really decide which way they want to go and look. Cool. So I really enjoy the virtual stuff. Even still, I know everybody's kind of sick of it. But
I think it's very neat because we can go places that, you wouldn't normally get to go.
Right, exactly. That's, especially when you're talking about world Christmases, that plane ride to France is going to cost a little more than, and with COVID right now, you can't go anywhere without quarantining. Anyway.
Yes, I watched those plane flights and it's not happening, people.
So this is a neat way, and I'm going to find some more and get some more in there for you, but I've already got I think I've got 5 for you right now. So I've already got a handful for you to pick and choose from. So that's going to be some fun stuff to just get to see what it's like over there. And then then you can kind of tailor it to your kids. Okay. Do you have little kids? Then you could go get some of those trifold boards at the Dollar Tree and let them make their own Christmas markets. They can decorate the trifold boards into their own Christmas markets, and they can make their German Christmas market, or they can make their Russian Christmas market. Or each one could make a different one. You could have your own little geography thing, and they could make one. So the older kids might like that too. They just may need to put them up on the kitchen table, but the little kids can do it on the floor. But that's all kind of stuff that you can, add that. Again, like I was saying at the very beginning, if you're just joining us now, this is not, again, I just want to reiterate, because I know with the homeschool community, you have a lot of people who are going, man, I kicking themselves because they feel like they're not doing as much or as good as other people are doing. These are not things that I did all at one time, all in one year. No, we picked and chose. Yeah. So, we're cooking some things this year. Because he loves to cook this year. The next thing, well, not the next thing, but I'm going to get to the genealogy thing. That's big for us this year. So we're kind of focusing on that stuff this year. The next thing I do want to talk about, which we haven't actually done yet. This is one thing I have not done yet. I just thought of it while I was researching for this program tonight. And I don't know why it didn't occur to me before, but that's music. Christmas music from around the world. I've never actually spent a whole lot of time digging into the different Christmas music. And I love Christmas music. I'm the person that starts listening to it December 1st. December 1st, and I'm the Christmas music girl. So I have a kid music series of Christmas from around the world, celebrating Christmas musical traditions from around the world. So I've got 3 different links for you for different Christmas songs and music from around the world. If Daniel's watching, Daniel, I've got Christmas music from around the world. It's going to be awesome. I've been listening to some of the songs. Some of them are neat. Some of them are, but I guess if you start listening, I'm assuming if you're in Germany and you hear grandma got run over by a reindeer, you're probably going to be like, that's a little weird. So think about that when you're listening to some of the songs and you're like, this is weird. Is it? Because we have Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. So,
Yeah.
take that as you will.
That would be so fun. We need to make a Spotify playlist.
Yes. Oh, that's what we need to do.
I made one for planning, like my Christmas planning, because it's nice, soft, and relaxing, so I don't get agitated. And it was perfect, but I need one for cleaning, like with some upbeat music.
Yeah, my oldest is
around the world.
My oldest is taking over our Christmas list this year. She said, she's into jazz. So our whole Christmas list will be Christmas jazz music. And she said, she's taking over our Christmas list this year. And I'm like, okay, so goodness only knows. But yes, so Christmas music from around the world. That was just one that I don't know why that had connected.
Playlist would be a great teen project.
That would be. And what's neat about that is that's definitely, again, like the building, making a little scene for the kids. That's something your teens could get into. Absolutely. They know all about the Spotify or the Amazon Music. I use Amazon Music myself. And it is a little weird, Cynthia. It's one. And there's a couple more I could probably think of.
They're just strange.
Of some songs. So just to keep that in mind. So where we're focusing this year, which has been a lot of fun, is our family history. So Christmas around the world being focused on family history. So when my grandpa passed away last year, he was 92. And he used to talk about this village thing that was under his parents' Christmas tree. And it was a really big deal. It was in the newspaper, actually, locally. We have the article from the newspaper of this little village thing that was under their Christmas tree. And I didn't really think a whole lot of it, except that it was a very cool story until after he passed. And I really read the article in depth. I wish I had read it more in depth when he was still here. I just sort of skimmed over it. And it said something about it being a German tradition. And my grandpa's last name was Bitzer. We're very German. And so I asked in my German genealogy group about it. I said, hey, what is this? What is this called? It didn't have the name of it. It just said it was a German tradition. And it's called a Putz house. It's P-U-T-Z. It's a Putz village. And it's a German tradition, and it's where Christmas villages came from. That's kind of where they started, was this tradition of putting this under the tree. So we're really digging into, so we kind of have built one under our tree, a little one. Right, and so we're trying to really dig into, we have a lot of Scottish ancestry, so we're digging into some Scottish traditions and trying to, so when we start looking at what foods to cook, instead of going, oh my gosh, there's all these countries, which one do we focus on? We are making a very concerted effort this year to focus on our family history, our personal family history. So we have a lot of French, we have a lot of German, and some Spain, and so we're really, that's probably why. I'll have to look more into that. And now that you say that about the German toy brand, I wish I could remember off the top of my head what there was a direct translation to that. But yeah, so that really brings it home for us and for my son. He's really enjoyed, kind of going with me step by step. We did the DNA. I did do the DNA test. So it really focused on which countries we were from genetically, I guess. So that's kind of where we're going. This Christmas, we're doing, okay, what were our family traditions? And then seeing if we can find some like that one. That one was so neat and so personal to us to find that family tradition that is, it felt very personal. It feels very much like we're connecting with my grandpa this year. This is our first Christmas without him. And so it's feeling very much like we're connecting with him at Christmas this year. So finally, talk to the grandparents in your family, talk to the great grandparents in your family if they're still here, and find out what are some things that you did as a child, and then see if you can figure out why. Why they did these things, if there was, a connection to another country, to the country that they came from. With my grandpa's family, they didn't come here until the very late 1800s. So, early 1900s, they were still, he remembers, he was born in 1927. He remembers his German grandmother wearing her hair in the braids wrapped around her head. So there was that very strong, so if you have that, that's such a great way to really bring the Christmas around the world to a personal connection, because it's so personal. As you can see, I'm very excited about that. That's what we're doing this year.
It's very, very, but it's amazing to make that connection, and that's a great place to start, I think.
Yeah, so
If you don't know where to start there.
That's right. If you don't know where to start there. So we also have some other things, 10 magical ways to teach holidays around the world. And then I've got some country specific stuff too. But once you start really getting into the country specific stuff, it's kind of endless. That first website that's going to be linked for you is really going to be your biggest help, because it's going to have just all the countries. Mm-hmm. And there's just so many. There's just so many of them that you can look at. I was going to pull it up. I wish I could share my screen.
You can share it. What you do is look at the bottom. It says screen share.
Okay, let's see if we can do
and
this.
And if it's a Google, like it's on the same what's it called? It's a tab up at the top. You'll go to, I think it calls it Chrome tab. I think it may call it.
Let's see. Oh, there it is. Can you see that?
Yeah. Well, I have to add it in, but there it is.
There it is. Okay, so see, this is a Christmas around the world. Find out how Christmas traditions and Christmas is celebrated in a lot of. Look at all of these countries, y'all.
Isn't that amazing?
It is so many. And so what's neat is then you go to it. This is Norway. When the presents are exchanged, look at that. Some arts and crafts projects. A song. See, they didn't forget the music. They've got the songs. In there. So it really is so much you can go through. I mean, I just have fun just going through all of these and just seeing.
That's so cool.
They believe Santa Claus brings them presents early on Christmas Day. Now, the one thing I will say, let me see if I can, did I stop it? The screen share, there we go.
Yeah, you closed it. Yeah.
So the one thing I will say, though, is you are going to want to look into this before you do this with your kids, especially if you have younger kids. And I should have put this in my notes and I didn't, but some countries have a witch that brings presents. Mm-hmm. Some countries have, there's a country, is it Norway? One of them has a racial elf, I can't remember his name. And so that's kind of an issue, especially in more recent times, that helps Santa. One country has a very scary, so it's Santa and so it's the good and the bad that come together. So Santa comes, and then there's a very scary guy that comes too, kind of Satan-looking-ish, but he's very, very scary. So you're going to want to see just how deep you want to delve into this. Of course, as they get older, maybe you want to dig in more and really see the meat of it. But if you have younger kids, maybe float more on the top. That's going to be a personal decision for your house and how you do things. But just a heads up and a warning that you might want to check into this stuff.
You want to do a little bit of research before you do it.
Yeah, maybe just a little bit. The website I was just showing you is pretty even keeled. It doesn't, go into too much. Mm-hmm. But if you just start Googling, then you're going to. The teachers pay teachers. Printables aren't going to be too crazy. They're going to be really mild, and they're going to be pretty good, especially for the younger kids. They're not going to get too crazy. But I know for myself, I use those Printables as a jumping off point. And then I'll jump into Google and I want to see, and I'm looking at YouTube and looking at YouTube videos. And then before you know it, things are being seen that maybe the kids don't need to see at that age, or maybe just in your house, that's not something you want in your house. So depending on your house and how you do it, I left out YouTube. YouTube is, of course, a great resource. But watch the videos first, because you just
always pre-screen, pre-plan. That's part of lesson planning.
Yeah. But then a lot of your streaming services are going to have some neat stuff too. I'm going to look into those and get you those links depending on what streaming service you have. But especially when it comes to videos and especially when it comes to documentaries, you really want to make sure that you are pre-screening and making sure that it's age appropriate. And but then again, when it comes to the older kids, I wish I could remember which country that was that has the one. But there's discussions that are happening now that are saying, yes, this is a tradition and this has been our tradition for a very long time, but is this a tradition that is racially sensitive now that we know what we know now? This is maybe something we don't continue. And these are really heavy discussions that are happening in these countries that have these Christmas traditions.
It would be a good teen discussion.
So if you have teens, it's a really interesting discussion to have of when do traditions start, when do they stop, when do new traditions evolve, Right, because none of these traditions have been here from the beginning of time. They've all come as as times change and as traditions change. So, that's a really neat. It could be a paper or just a moral discussion with teens and things like that. But of course, when they're little, it's so much fun to make a little log and color the pictures and have the flip books and things like that. So. And do the crafts and I love the idea of the 3-sided board. I wish I had done that. See,
I know.
Man, I need a new little to do all the fun little things with.
And shop. Okay, Lisi's math curriculum involves several times a week shopping, and they're using whatever numbers she's working with. You're using money and shopping.
Yes,
she would totally love having the Christmas market.
So when we did money with Justin, we I know I figured out pretty early on or late on after I graduated school that I learned how to give money change with a quickness when our registers went down and I had to do it by hand. It clicked very quickly once I had money in my hand and I was doing it. So we sold little with Justin little mini chocolate bars, and they had a price list. So it would be very easy to make some Christmas cookies, get some Hershey Kisses, get some whatever, and they could be there.
You can make your own Christmas shop.
But first, you take them on the virtual tour of the Christmas market so they can see what they look like, and they can really see. There's some very distinctive art on the market stuff, on the kiosks, stands, the stands where they're selling the stuff. There's some, especially in Germany, there's very distinct German stuff. I know one of the virtual tours is in a part of Germany that's right on the line with France. And there's discussion in the virtual tour about, don't you see the Christmas influences of France and Germany? So that's neat. We've learned with our genealogy, one of my eighth great grandmothers, her marriage certificate is in French. Her death certificate is in German, and she never left the same city. She lived in one city her whole life, but the turnover was that much in her life. So it's really neat. So when you're starting to see these Christmas traditions, that's another thing to bring into it is, yes, it's a German country now, or yes, it's a French country now, but what was it and where did these influences come in? And the kids will pick it up. They'll go, wait, that looks like something we learned when we were doing Germany. So I really should have a glass of tea when I do this because I talk so much. But yeah, so that kind of covers everything that I have. Just a real quick, I'm gonna run through it really quick, and then do let you know that there will be a PDF you'll have access to when this is over. So the Christmas printables, easy peasy. That's your quick and fast. And man, you put Christmas around the world into Pinterest or into Teachers Pay Teachers, and you will be overwhelmed with content. It is so much printables. It is so much content. With the printables, you'll find the unit studies and the books that all kind of go together. All of that will pop up when you put in Christmas around the world. It is a little bit tougher to start getting the recipes because that tends to confuse some of the algorithms. So this free cookbook is a really great free cookbook. Yeah. So definitely look for that. World Market, so great for the food. And then, the Universal Yums, of course, because the Universal Yums, it's really great. If you have the funds to do the Universal Yums, because it comes with a booklet that tells you everything for each country. So that's.
Yeah. Where'd she go? I don't know if I hear. Jennifer had some good comments. Switzerland has both French and German speaking people, and it's really neat to see how holiday traditions differ and overlap. And Germany has Krampus, and yes, I knew about Krampus. Somebody made a movie, but I mean, it's an old tradition. He's scary. But Erin, where did you go? Here she is. Is she going to get back? Uh-oh. Uh-oh, we're having a little bit of trouble. Let's see, remove this one. She's trying. There she is.
My daughter walked in and I don't know what she did, but it cut off my internet. I don't know if she shut the door and my internet went off. I don't know what that was.
That was weird.
Just real quick, so the food, the virtual Christmas tours, fantastic. Look for those links. Those are a little bit harder to find. So I'm going to give you those so you can definitely do those. They're a lot of fun. Music and then genealogy. That's a great way to really connect. So that's what I've got for you.
DNA, I bought a kit for Nick. Now, those of y'all who know me probably think that's funny because Nick was born in the Soviet Union. But where he was born was at one point Poland and at one point Belarus, and it was part of the Soviet Union. And Belarus had like 1/4 Jewish ancestry at one time. So we're really excited to see what happens when we get his DNA back. And so it's really interesting.
It's been really neat to, and that's digging into your genealogy and start digging into your family history and stuff. There are Facebook groups that I highly recommend you join for several countries. I'm in a German genealogy group. I'm in an Alsace genealogy group. And, you can kind of go in there and say, hey, I'm teaching my kids are you there? And I'm in a group that translates things. And so the woman who translates my French documents is living in France. So I'm sure I could ask in there and say, hey, what kind of traditions do y'all have in France? And, they're very helpful. So
yeah. Erin, I'm in 2 Belarusian groups now. We're sending Nick's stuff off. And we're going to look into that. Nick had family that moved to the U.S., so we want to see if we can track them down too through this. So
I'm actually sending Ellery's box came in today. We're sending his out tomorrow, so we're excited to get his side. Well, but with Wainwright,
my mom was French and German. We didn't even know that. My mom was French and German, Luxembourg. So
I was shocked at how much Scottish I have. I had 38% Scottish. I did not realize I had so much. So I'm really looking. I knew Spain and I knew German and I knew French. So we've dug into that a lot. So I'm really looking forward to digging into some of the Scottish traditions and Christmas. Because I know nothing. I don't know anything about.
That'll be amazing.
So I'm really excited. A little nervous because there's some things that they eat that I'm not so sure about. But asked if we were gonna have haggis. I'm like, I don't think so.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's food cooked in an intestine.
The blood sausages.
Yes, something like that. Yeah. So, but I'm interested to see their Christmas traditions. Christmas is my favorite time of the year. It really is. I really feel like people and people really do feel like they're giving and doing all that. So I really do enjoy. You see my son go, Justin. I'm using the Ancestry.
Somebody asked me, did you see that? You see it. Okay. I want to make sure you saw the question.
I did just click over the comments. I had to fix it. So we have done 23andMe and we've done Ancestry. The 23andMe was fine. It gave us the information, right? Interesting. The thing with Ancestry is though, it will let you know who you're connected with on Ancestry and it pulls up their trees and you can see where you're related. So it was a lot easier to find the family connections. Whereas on 23andMe, it's like, it's your 4th cousin. And you're like, from where? It just didn't seem to have as much information as I could get from Ancestry. So I'm really liking my results from Ancestry. I've already gotten those back. I like that I can check people's trees and see, because it'll say, oh, well, you're related through this person, like my dad. And then it finds where on their tree, if their tree is public, it is. And then I can go look for information. So I really do like the Ancestry. And they're on sale. I think they're on sale for $59.99.
$59.99.
Yeah, they're usually, that's like a half price sale or something, or 40% off or something like that. So they're on sale right now. So those are great. Yeah. So when everybody orders their kit and they get all their information in, you got to come share it with me. So I know, tag me in it and show me what your stuff is. And then if you do Ancestry, search for my name and see if we're related. I'm waiting to be related to somebody.
I'm like, Mississippi, French and German. I'm like, I am so keen to Aaron.
Somewhere along the way, we've been able to trace ours back to like almost 500 years here on the Gulf Coast in several different strands. Yeah, and then we a lot of Canadians, a lot of Canadians came from Canada straight down here. And so we were part of that migration of Canadians that came down here. So we have a lot of that too. So
that's pretty amazing.
French Canadian, so
yes, they do have a great deal, because I got Nick's kit, and for $1 I got 3 months of being able to be connected with the website.
And I think it's 3 months of the world too, isn't it? It's 3 months of the world subscription too.
It was like 3 months for $1.
Okay, so now we're going to have to do the genealogy talk, Devin. Talk to everybody about all the ins and outs that I've learned.
In January, we will do a homeschooling genealogy workshop.
I love it. I'd be happy to come back and work on that completely. But yeah, so the Christmas stuff, if y'all have any questions, if you're like, where did you find that? How did you do that?
Anybody got a question? Any questions anywhere? Because we still have quite a few people watching. Any questions?
I know I didn't dig too much into each tradition, and that's mainly because it's going to depend on what you're doing and what your interests are and where, just where you are. Like I said, I showed you the website, and it just has so many, it's like 50, 75 countries. There's no way you can cover all of those countries in one Christmas. It would just overwhelm you. So you're going to kind of need to decide how you want to narrow them down. Yeah. Yeah, and how you want to narrow them down. So, 1 year we did it, and we literally picked our countries based on what the countries were in the printable that I liked on Teachers Pay Teachers. Those were the countries that we did. That was the extent of my thought on which countries to do. But yes, Jennifer mentioned earlier about Krampus. Is that right? Did I say that right? Yeah. In the Scandinavian countries, and in Germany, there can be. It's not all holly jolly Coca-Cola Santa. So, and another thing to definitely start looking at now, because one of the countries just did theirs on the 6th of January, December, the 6th of December, they do an event. And then there's religions in some countries that do Three Kings Day, which is actually after Christmas. They go all the way to Three Kings Day after. I know Puerto Ricans do that. I have my best friend was Puerto Rican. They do Three Kings Day. It's Russian. Yes, Russians do Three Kings Day.
Russians tend to do, Russian history. One of the czars changed the calendar, and now people are just a little bit afraid they're going to mess up and celebrate the wrong holiday. So there are 2 Christmases, 2 New Years, and 2 Easters. So yes, my tree stays up till mid-January, and it's just like a nod. We don't do anything major for the second ones, but we leave the tree up.
Yeah, and so there's some neat things that you can do with that. So there's some traditions.
You can kind of extend it into January.
And there's like a 12 days of Christmas, I think, that goes with that too. So that's neat. The December 6th thing was putting out shoes, if I remember correctly, and I think that was German. So there really are just so many to try and keep in your head when you really start digging into them. So that's definitely start thinking about it now. And if you missed it this year, no worries. It's coming around again next year.
It'll be here before you know it.
Yep.
Okay, well, thank you, Erin. Thank you, everybody. If you have questions, she is part of the group. She's going to give us her PDF later tonight, and you'll be able to get all the links to all the stuff you want to see. And we will be back next week with Jennifer, and it's going to be, what is it? Incorporating literature in your history and science. So I'm excited about that one.
Love that. Love that. Thanks,
Have a
guys.
great night.